If you've ever had unauthorized sellers on your Amazon product listings that are selling your products and you want to know how to reduce or eliminate those, in today's video, I'm going to share with you steps you can take to gain more brand control over your Amazon sales channel. So let me share with you one of the biggest problems and headaches that I've heard from the hundreds of brands I've talked with over the last 8+ years with their Amazon sales channel. Several years ago, I talked to a brand who had over 20 other sellers who were unauthorized, also selling their product on Amazon for one of their products in particular. Now, their price on Amazon was constantly being undercut and dropped by those unauthorized sellers, and this was ultimately not only hurting their ability to get any sales themselves, but they also weren't able to get any traction with their Amazon ads because their Amazon ads are only running when they have what's called the featured offer, or also known as the Amazon buy box. Now, their distributors and other online retailers, they weren't happy with that price situation on Amazon either, because it was hard for them to then compete with the prices because they were always going below their MAP pricing, or their minimum advertised price. It wasn't easy, it wasn't fast, but they also knew that they couldn't avoid this or keep putting it off because things weren't going to get better, they were just going to get worse. So has that ever been your brand? It might not even be for all of your products, but typically it's at least one of your better selling products, and you aren't even sure how many sales on Amazon that you're getting every month. And those unauthorized sellers, they don't really care about your brand image, your brand reputation. They aren't giving the customers even necessarily the attention and service that they need. And what's even worse is then the quality of your product reviews are going to come into question, because what we've seen happen is sometimes negative product reviews come through on Amazon when it's not even you selling the product, but they're having a bad experience with whoever has sold your product that's not authorized. There's one thing that I really want and need to see, that people really want and need to see happen, and that is brand control. Now, we found that brand control is so foundational for Amazon growth success that I actually want to dig into this today for this video to share with you our first step in our Amazon marketing success strategy. And it's a 7-step process where brands can grow their sales on Amazon. So today's video, I'm going to dig in with you for that first step of gaining brand control. Now, if you can't gain control on your listings for your products on Amazon, all the other steps will not be nearly as effective. What's happened is unauthorized sellers over the years, they may have even been the ones that set up the product listings for you that you didn't even know about. Maybe you weren't even selling on Amazon at that time. Maybe you still aren't. Your products might be getting sold every month. And like I said, the worst thing is a lot of times those listings, they're not even set up the right way. Many times they're actually really low quality images. We've even seen outdated images. The copy maybe isn't on the listing isn't really reflecting your brand voice, or even worse, there's actually information that's wrong or inaccurate on the listing that leaves buyers, frustrated. It gives them a bad taste with your brand and your product as well. Now, if you've been dealing with unauthorized sellers, or if you're not selling your products on Amazon yet, then you'll want to follow these steps to move towards eliminating and then removing those unauthorized sellers. Now, the reason I also mentioned if you're not selling your products on Amazon yet is that you should pay attention to that, because typically your most popular products, if someone can actually purchase either from you, from a distributor of yours, or even a physical retail store, it is possible for them to then create a listing that doesn't exist and to start then selling your product on Amazon today. Amazon's what's called like an open marketplace, and that means that if someone can actually get your product in their hands, then they can actually set up a listing and resell it. Now, I'm going to share a few tips with you, and this will help later for that. So just be aware of, kind of this process, even like I said, if your brand is not yet on Amazon. The main problem with not having brand control for your listings on Amazon is typically pricing, and also you don't really have control over any of the listing content. So let me share with you a few steps you can take to reduce or eliminate those unauthorized sellers on Amazon. Let's also get ahead of the game if you're currently not on Amazon yourself, because this will help save yourself a headache and having to deal with unauthorized sellers, which is usually a big problem for a lot of brands, especially if your products are popular. First, know what products are being sold on Amazon. This is especially important if you don't yet think you're on Amazon and so you don't think your products are being sold there. you need to check and make sure. And then if you are already selling on Amazon, you'll want to figure out which products are actually being sold there. Next step, number 2, if you don't have an Amazon Seller Central account, there's 2 different options. You can either set one up yourself, or you could establish a relationship with a company that would handle your Amazon sales channel for you and would share with you sales reporting and data and make sure your listings are set up correctly. For instance, we do this for some brands who just don't want to deal with Amazon for any particular reason, or also sometimes for cash flow reasons. They prefer, for instance, for us to buy inventory from them and for us to resell it on their behalf, or you can distribute as their authorized reseller on Amazon. So essentially you set them up as they have the approval to sell your product on Amazon because it's happening typically anyways. The next step, 3rd, is if you have a live or active trademark to get brand registered on Amazon. It's currently free, so make sure to check out my video here. I dig into more about brand registry. If you're not familiar with that, the big parameter is you do need that live and active trademark for your brand name. Next, 4th, if you do have unauthorized sellers, you'll next want to buy 1 unit from them each to find out, is it actually authentically your product? So this is kind of going to be a splitting point, figuring out if they actually do have your product or if it's a counterfeit product. This video will not be addressing if it's a counterfeit issue. We're going to talk about if they actually do have your product. So let's assume that it is your product, and we'll move on to step 5. So step 5 is you're going to research to find information about their business, and you're going to use that to stop distributing to them or to notify that you don't give them authorization to sell your products on Amazon. Please note, I'm not a lawyer. It would be really helpful to probably talk with one in regards to, contacting those companies and things like that. But from my experience with this tactic is you're going to really have to ultimately find that leak in your distribution of where they're getting the product, because if they legitimately have your product, it's actually going to be much harder to get rid of them from selling your product. 6th, after notifying the companies that you found that are selling your products that are not authorized, you're then going to need to track and monitor the inventory levels. This will help in a few different ways, and you can use this data to compare who is ordering from you, or find out which distributor or retailer they might be buying it from. Now, if it's being sold above retail price, for instance, your typical price is $19.99, and they're selling it for a little bit above that, here's a pro tip. They most likely, they're probably getting it actually from a retail store, and they're marking the price up on Amazon. We've seen this happen. They also could be getting it from a retail store and selling kind of around that normal price, but they may have gotten it on clearance or on sale, so just keep that in mind as well. Next, 7th, another method that you can do is to track by lot numbers if you use lot numbers. When you place a sample order maybe from that previous step, when you're ordering from them on Amazon from each unauthorized seller, and then you can compare that to see where they're buying inventory from if it's not directly from you. 8th is strategize for cutting off their supplier or making the pricing for wholesale purchase where they can't get any margin. So note that should be 0% or even going negative, because we know from experience that there are unauthorized sellers who will take extremely low margins if they can get volume. So if your product is selling a lot of quantity on Amazon, they might be okay with accepting 2 to 3% margins, extremely thin margins. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at your pricing when people buy from your distributors or from you wholesale. 9th, so continue that process and evaluate if and when more drastic measures need to be taken. The ones that I've already mentioned they take time, they do take effort, they do take bandwidth, but those are not as drastic of a measure of things. For instance, like you might need to look into the transparency program if you're having a lot of issues. That could also be, earlier I mentioned counterfeit issues, that could also be where the transparency program would be a good solution for if you're having that particular problem. And if you want to learn more about the program that Amazon offers, I do have a whole video there on the Amazon transparency program. Now, this is like the overall strategy and steps that you can take today, and this will help move you towards eliminating and reducing unauthorized sellers. For your timeline, I'm just going to be very honest with you. It will depend on how bad the problem is. If it's really out of control, you could actually anticipate that this could take months, even longer. And if this is a very complicated process, like I said, there's a lot to it, but I really wanted to make it very succinct for you on steps to take. Even though there's a lot within those steps, they could be unpacked. We have in the description box below where you can contact us. Feel free to reach out to us if you want a little bit more guidance on that, if you feel like it's a little bit overwhelming. And typically you can take the information, the steps that I've shared with you, and if you're maybe like the CMO overseeing your Amazon sales for your brand, you definitely will want to have someone on your team kind of following those steps. And make sure to check out my next video here. I'm going to share with you the next step in our Amazon marketing success strategy, which is really optimizing your Amazon product listings.